and then went to Korea. But that was where the job was real. We didn't just go to the field and sit. I mean, we were within artillery range there at Camp Hovey. We were within artillery range of North Korea. So it was real. And when you got up back then, and this was before your first go around there, we did a lot of field problems up north where you heard gunfire at night. And so it's a heck of an eye opener when the alert siren goes off, it's for real. Whether it is or not, thankfully it never was.
Marshall in the middle.
Got to talk with Cameron Cranston, Sergeant First Class, retired, type 1 each. We spent some time in Korea together back in the 90s during the Gulf War time, and we spent some time reminiscing. It was great to talk to him. Heroes I know, Sergeant First Class Cameron Cranston. So tell me what's been going on with you lately. You've retired and now you're working back at that. Is it a National Guard center?
Yeah. I retired from the AGR program with the Florida National Guard. I was actually AGR for just about 10 years and retired. And I was a facility manager in Daytona Beach. Tough job. Less than a mile from the beach. Used to ride my bike there every day. But anyway, the folks from construction and facilities management tracked me down 5 years after I retired and offered me a job. So I'm back. Instead of managing one armory, I assist in managing 16 different armories across the state.
Oh, wow.
So I help the guys out because the op tempo and the workload for the full-time armory managers just has them snowed under. So they came up with this program. So I'm just kind of a troubleshooter. I enjoy it because half of the armories, when they did my zone, I already knew half of the armory managers from my AGR time. So it was kind of like coming back into the Guard again and being around friends. So yeah, I dig it. I enjoy it.
That's great. Take me back to young Cameron for a minute. Let's jump back. Will you do that with me? Can you think
Sure.
Think where you from and tell me about how you came to join the Army. Tell me about the early years,
Grew up in Melbourne, Florida, right on the coast. And really in high school, I mean, even though my dad was a teacher, I wasn't exactly a great student. So Army seemed like a good idea, family tradition. So I hit basic training 2 months after I graduated in June of 1980 and hit wonderful Fort Bliss, Texas on August the 12th, 1980. So, and then from there, first duty station was Fort Stewart, and then Korea, then Fort Campbell, then Korea, and that's where you and I met. Was I think my second time in Korea. So, yep, stuck with it for 15 years, and then got mad and joined the National Guard for like 9 years, and then so ended up right back where I started. So I like it.
Tell me about transitioning into the Army and basic and AIT and all that kind of stuff. Was any of that stuff hard for you?
Not really. I mean, my father was in the Army post World War II, but a very disciplined upbringing, that old traditional, World War, when Dad was a World War II vet or after it, we all kind of had that same upbringing. And I did ROTC for 2 years in high school. But I think being used to taking direction and being raised in a, yes, sir, yes, ma'am household, it wasn't a big transition. I mean, my original plan was 3 years in the Army just to kind of have fun and have a little adventure and then get out and go to college. But I think I realized probably within the first year that I think I'd found a home and I really enjoyed soldiering and I was good at it. And I think I really made a career decision probably less than a year in.
Did you remember getting an award early on in the Army that helped? Do you remember a first award or anything like that?
The first award I recall was just I don't even think they use them anymore. I know we didn't in the National Guard, but just a certificate of achievement for they were doing the MI was doing a train up and they had little models set up in the grass and we had to do a salute report. And me as an E2, I did a salute report. And then like a week later, I get this certificate of achievement from the battalion commander. And it was like, that's kind of cool. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that was completely out of left field. Had no idea it was coming. So
Yeah, the Army has a way of giving you little awards and little pieces of ribbon, and it keeps you interested in wanting to do more somehow.
Yeah, but I wasn't. I mean, I don't think I didn't seek out awards, but I think they kind of sought me out. I know that sounds kind of odd, but it's just like I enjoyed soldiering. You know, a lot of guys were like, "Oh, Cranston's a brown noser," and I'm like, I'm following orders and doing my job the way I should be. I mean, how is that a bad thing? So, and the awards come with it.
Yeah, Benson's coming on. He'll probably be quiet, but I just he loves to hear the stories and stuff, and so he's been helping me. So thanks
Yeah.
for thanks. I know thanks for talking to him and getting it all scheduled and stuff. And thanks for talking with me. This is something that's come out of having a couple of really good friends of mine either pass away or have some kind of a brain tumor or something that they can't remember. Maggot went through a period that he was just doing Groundhog Day over and over again.
Oh yeah.
And so
I just lost a good friend back in August to a same thing a guy I served with to leukemia, and it got him quick. So I know you're feeling. Yeah, that's why I was excited when you contacted me about this, because I mean, even though our time together was only a year, and then I don't know if you remember, but my very first platoon leader for my first platoon, you were an instructor of his at OBC. Remember when I came to visit you out of Fort Bliss?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And that was just, I mean, out of nowhere, he's like, "Oh yeah, I had Sergeant Marshall was one of the instructors." And I'm like, "Will Marshall?" And he's like, "Yeah." And that was awesome. That was cool seeing you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me more about the early years. Tell me about Private Cranston. Or did you get in trouble? Were you a good soldier? Were you,
Like I said, I think since I was raised to do what you were told to do, and that was our job anyway. No, I didn't. I was really, I mean, I made E5 in just under 3 years, which kind of came back to bite me later. But no, as a private, it was a little different for me, I guess, because looking back, I was fairly sheltered. So, and you know how, the big melting pot we have in the Army. So my first roommate was a black guy from New York and another one from another black guy from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And they were both in their mid 20s. And here I am, barely 18 years old. So quite an eye opener, but the transition, it was easy. It was that's why I said, I think I made the career decision, because everything made sense. It was nice and regimented. I enjoyed the work. I was good at what I did. And like I said, came up through the ranks fairly quickly. Like I said, that first tour in Korea, that's a big eye opener. I mean, you remember that your first time over. But I really enjoyed Korea, and I think Korea was the big turning point for me, because I was at Fort Stewart for about a year and a half, and then went to Korea. But that was where the job was real. We didn't just go to the field and sit. I mean, we were within artillery range there at Camp Hovey. We were within artillery range of North Korea. So it was real. And when you got up back then, and this was before your first go around there, we did a lot of field problems up north where you heard gunfire at night. And so it's a heck of an eye opener. When the alert siren goes off, it's for real, whether it is or not. Thankfully, it never was. But no, Korea was a turning point. Went to Fort Campbell. Was there for about a year and a half, and then back to Korea. So from there, I went to recruiting, did recruiting for 3 years in Tallahassee.
I didn't know about that. Tell me about your recruiting time.
It was kind of a case of, there's only two good places in the Army: where you've been and where you're going. I hated it at first, but again, I was good at it. I was a successful recruiter, but really converting over to 00 Romeo and becoming a full-time recruiter, that's not what the Army was to me. And I had a sergeant major, a battalion CSM, and he had been in the Army 23 years. 3 of those years had been in the mainstream Army, and the other 20 were in recruiting. So he really knew nothing about the Army. He knew about recruiting, didn't know about the Army. And that kind of turned me off to recruiting. But then again, sitting up at the range complex there, Rodriguez Range, in 2 feet of snow and not showered in 14 days, that that Ford Tempo they had me driving in Tallahassee was looking really, really good. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed recruiting. I was good at it. I actually made some lifelong friends. I am Facebook friends with 4 soldiers that I put in the Army, and all 4 of them are like, "Thank you very much. You know, best thing that ever happened to me." So again, I was successful at that, and I wouldn't do it again. They tried to get me to do it in the National Guard, and I said, if it comes down to we'll work for food or being a recruiter, then maybe I'll talk to recruiting.
What what did you find yourself really good at in the Army or in recruiting or in life? What kind of things are you good at?
I like the supervisory positions because I'm able to envision what needs to get done and what individual pieces need to come together and how those pieces come together. And learned it, you know, from starting out on the Vulcan. I mean, if we were lucky, we had a 4-man squad, but it was usually a 3-man squad. So you kind of get eased into that leadership thing where you've only got a couple pieces you have to work on. And then, of course, as you come up and staff sergeant, sergeant first class, and sergeant first class was the eye opener for me. That was a whole brand new Army for me, because I was right at between 15 years of active duty, and then I got promoted in 2000 to sergeant first class, and that was like there was a brand new Army to me. It was all of a sudden, you know, if the commander asked me a question, he really wanted to hear my answer. He wasn't just, you know, chumming with the troops. And I found I was good at that, just the organization and the leadership part of it. And I built strong relationships with my soldier as a readiness NCO in the Guard. Basically, I had, you know, when it was an Avenger battery, it was 60 some odd people. And then when we converted over to a maintenance detachment, I had 73 people. And I forged relationships with all 73 people. And it's super important. And I know one of my big things was at the end of every drill at formation, I thanked each and every one of them just for coming and doing their work. And so as I got older, the interpersonal skills were better. And the thing with thanking the soldiers, it was sincere. It wasn't just, you know, to make them feel good. It was sincere. I thanked them because we had some rough weekends. We had some long weekends, but yeah, like I said, I think the thing that I found best was what my strength was the relationships I built with soldiers.
What did you find tough?
And this is kind of odd because I always felt like I was behind. And I even catch myself doing that now as a civilian employee, and I'm really not. And I'm having to teach myself, no, you're not behind. I always kind of felt like I was just hanging on, like I just barely had it under control. And then, you know, the soldiers will tell you, you know, your mid-level, your staff NCOs, they'll tell you, go away, let us do our thing. Everything's fine. We're doing great. Trying not to be a micromanager, that was a huge one where you have to step back and let your guys do their thing. So I was told when I reported to my new unit as a brand new platoon sergeant, and I was told very quickly, go in your office and do platoon sergeant stuff. We have this. So that was hard, but you learn. And then what you see is like what I'm seeing now. I retired in 2014. So privates that I had are now staff sergeants. And it's really cool to see that, because I kind of feel like, hey, I made that guy, you know. So
yeah. So who were some of your mentors? Who made you? Tell me who your mentors were.
I want to embarrass you, but you were one of them. I know we had a disparaging term for you guys when they cleaned house at Fort Bragg. We referred to y'all as the Bragg Fags. Sergeant Lee, you, Clay Fieldmeyer. There was another E5 that came with you. I don't recall his name. But you know, we all thought we were tough Met guys, and I think the airborne guys knew how to soldier. And I measured myself against you. So yeah, that was kind of one of the first ones. But I think the one that my career in the National Guard was a little bit longer than the regular Army, and I was in the supervisory position almost the whole time in the Guard. So there was one readiness NCO for headquarters battery, Bobby McKee, and we are still very close friends. but he really took me under his wing because, you know, we had to have access to the RCAS program and ATARs and all that. And my battalion S3 really wasn't, he was on the way out the door for retirement and wasn't really interested in training anybody. So Bobby took me under his wing and taught me, and it's, you know, it's a mountain of paperwork and a whole bunch of computer input. Bobby was one of the big ones. And then another Brad guy, Sergeant First Class Lee, you know, he showed me you could be dirty and uncomfortable and get the job done. We don't need to be clean to do it. So
you came up in the 80s Army, you know, you came up where pressed BDUs and starch, and there wasn't any real wars at that particular time. But you were deployed on the forefront over in Korea. Tell me what it was like to kind of you volunteered multiple times, part for family, but also part you enjoyed that adventure, right?
And that's exactly what it was. Is I know the saying back then was, if you want to party, you go to Germany. If you want to goof off, you get assigned to the States, except for Fort Bragg. You guys were busy. And if you wanted the real Army, you went to Korea. And I guess it's when you have a purpose and when you know it's for real. I mean, you know, we all fought the Pinelanders and the Atropia guys and all that. And it's, you know, there's not real bullets flying around. Not that I was ever in combat. I'm that unicorn. I'm the 34-year guy that never heard a shot fired in anger. But I think Korea was as close as you could get to the real thing. And the other thing is I think the Korean people needed us, and at that time they appreciated us. And there's still that appreciation, but just not so much, because as that generation, the generation of folks that remember the Korean War, you know, they're slowly dying off. So it's becoming a distant memory. And I mean, you know, the armed forces, U.S. Armed Forces in Korea, they're all consolidated down south now. It ain't like the old days. I was there in 2017, and they were actually closing the big garrison. They were closing Yongsan when I was there. So
it's a different world over there now, you know, than
Yep.
it was. You know, I remember, you know, the smell of Andal, you know, and
that's still there.
So tell me a little bit about family, if you don't mind. You know, this video is for family. Tell me about your family. Who those family members going to be watching this one day?
Well, of course, still married to the first wife. I think you met her many, many years ago. Gosh, I think it's 30. I'm gonna get in trouble if she sees this. September will be 36 years. So, and just good Army wife. She got it. She understood it. I have two children. Sarah, who was helping me with the technical stuff. I know computers. I just don't know Mac. Let's get that. I'm a PC guy. But anyway, yeah, Sarah's 30 years old. She's married. Her husband is at Fort Lee right now for AIT for 91 Bravo. Yep, he's actually going to be in my old unit. He's going to my unit up in Palm Coast, Florida, as a actually recovery vehicle operator as a position. Now, that talk about brave. He went to basic training at 35 years old. Yeah, he was older than his drill sergeants. Has lost 20 pounds and decided he likes being skinny, but he fit right in, and he really, really likes it. So, and he does IT for a prep school here in Orlando. Got a 2-year-old grandson who I'm surprised he hasn't busted in yet. And then my son Andrew, he was born in Tallahassee, so I think. I'm trying to remember if you met Sarah or not, but anyway, Andy was born in Tallahassee. He's 28 years old, and he works for the Bank of New York now. He got his bachelor's in business, and he was on like the 6-year plan, but also he was working full time, going to school full time, and he has zero college debt. So I figure he's 28 years old. He can settle into a career when he wants to. So neither one of them really aspired to join the Army, and kind of the direction I saw the Army going. I wasn't sure if I wanted them to do it or not, but it was always going to be their decision if they wanted to. But I still have got 3 older sisters who all got mad at me because I was the youngest of 4, and I retired from my career before any of the 3 of them did. They're all 3 school teachers. So, but yeah, that's family. on my son-in-law's side of the family, it's almost like we have two families now because we really came together well, and he's got two younger brothers. So yeah, big at family gatherings now.
So many times people say there's no, atheist in foxholes. I was just wondering, was there a spirituality or a faith or something that got you through some hard times?
You know what? I knew you were going to ask me a question about like this. Shortly after I retired, Sarah was involved in a very serious accident. She was hit by a car while she was waiting to cross the road. And we almost lost her. And I was raised in a household where we went to church on Easter Sunday, and that was it. My parents really didn't get back into church. So I've never really been a man of faith, but I catch myself. And the time that came to mind was about day 3 of my daughter being in the ICU, and the doctor saying, we don't know if she's going to make it. And I called my supply NCO, who has very strong faith. And I said, dude, I'm not a man of faith, but I need someone to pray right now. And Will, do you know, she turned a corner the next day. The next day was when the doctor was like, okay, she's going to make it now. So I kind of feel like that should have made me a man of faith, but I can rely on guys like you and Gene and some other folks in my life.
I think it shows that you are a man of faith, that when you needed it, you called on it, didn't you?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. So
hey, it worked. It was amazing.
tell me the next step. Tell me about your patriotism. What makes you be a patriot? You and I have had discussions late at night, in Korea about patriotism. We've all watched, the craziness in our culture right now about who's patriotic and who's not. I know that you definitely consider yourself a patriot. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird for me because I can remember I didn't really have a quote unquote political awakening, I think, until probably 2010, where I started paying attention to politics, because from the time I was, graduated high school, I was always insulated from the political scene. Always a patriot, and this is family tradition being in the Army. But we live in strange times right now. And I have friends that say the president's doing a great job, and I try to understand that. I wasn't given the benefit of a doubt a couple of years ago when I said, hey, my president's doing a great job, and he was a horrible, terrible man. So I try to understand everybody's point of view, but some of them are reaching kind of hard. So I just hope we can get back to where the flag's not a symbol of oppression. I don't understand how. It boggles my mind, but I do my best to educate. That's one thing I've done with my kids is form your own opinions. But communism and socialism used to be a dirty word in this country, and now it seems to be an acceptable form of government. But we don't. I think we're going to turn a corner. But that's the one thing that. We know what America stands for. It's that American dream, being able to do what you want to do. And also doing it on your own merits and not having to make excuses as to why you can't do it. And I think once we learn that again, that it's no one's fault but your own, I think we can get back to kind of the America that I'm used to. It's kind of scary right now, but I think as that American spirit, I think we'll get it back around to where we can all be friends again.
I agree. I think that there's a lot of room towards the center. So tell me about your favorite weapon in the Army. Do you remember having a gun or maybe a tank or a Vulcan or something that was your favorite? Do you remember?
When I came off of recruiting, it was during the transition. So the Vulcan went away and we were on the Bradley Stinger fighting vehicle. Now, mind you, I had been on a fast Vulcan, did 25 miles an hour downhill. And you were either always hot, always wet, always cold. The thing leaked like a sieve. And then they put us in a tracked vehicle that could do 50 miles an hour on flat ground. And it had a smoke generator. And then with that cannon on there, the Bradley was the be all end all to me. I thought that thing was amazing. It was a lot of fun to be in, and a very effective weapon too. I know we would, with our tactics, we would, they always wanted the air defense guys to hang back and stay out of the way. And that ended up being the maneuver element's kind of secret weapon, because no one was paying attention to us because we were sitting off of the side. So many times the ADA guys were able to save the day, because but we had to call in and get permission to engage ground targets. But yeah, the Bradley was quite a system. I don't know if it was from working on such an outdated system, or if the Bradley was really all that good. I don't.
I think it was a little bit of both, because that Vulcan, that SP Vulcan that we worked on together, but whoa, boy, that thing, I mean, it worked, but
it had a few years on it.
I remember you showing me how to hook up the radio into the headset.
Yeah. And if you did it wrong, it would burn the batteries up on the Walkman. Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh. So tell me, are there any things that like now that you wish you'd have known back then, and maybe a mistake that I've been asked to ask that. Is there a time you got in trouble or a mistake you made that looking back on it, you're got, This
is gonna sound odd. The biggest mistake I made was not making time for myself and making time to further my education, because I got stuck in that era where, not to put too sharp of an edge on it, they didn't care if you could lead troops. They wanted to see college transcripts. Well, I was too busy leading troops, and so I got left behind. And then what really screwed me up on the active Army is they did a oops, and when I was branch detailed to recruiting, everybody converted to 14 Romeo except Sergeant Cranston. He was the last 16 Romeo on the promotion list. And I just never met. Yeah. Yep.
Oh no.
Do you remember Mr. Patterson, our branch manager?
Mm-hmm.
I called him up and he went, "Uh-oh, we forgot about you." And he said, "Don't worry, I'll fix it." And I called back a month later, and Mr. Patterson had retired, and I got in the middle of a turf war between two sergeant majors, and ended up that was, but you know what? Ended up, it was one of those things where I was a re-enlistment NCO, so I had to process my own chapter out of the Army after 15 years. But joined the National Guard and loved it, and ended up, everything happens for a reason, Oh, so I'm not really bitter about it, but the one thing I would tell my soldiers is, man, take care of your promotability.
Amen.
Because if not, you're going to get left behind. And the soldiers love you to death, but that's not going to keep you in the Army, and that's not going to get you promoted. Well, to an extent it will, but
we were,
yeah, I was kind of,
yeah,
it was weird. Tom Kenny, he was in the same thing, and he went and got all the college done, and he retired as a sergeant major. I retired as a sergeant first class, but the Guard's a little bit of a different animal, because there is one E8 position for my MOS in the state of Florida. So, and I wasn't really looking at moving to Miami to make E8, and it was time for me to retire anyway. But yeah, I'm not bitter about how I got out of the regular Army. But I remember making the comment, one of my soldiers asked me, "Why are you still in the orderly room working this late at night?" And I said, "Because I'm too dedicated." And the XO yelps in the back office. He's like, "You're right. You need to get your ass in school." So, but once again, not bitter. I think everything happens for a reason. And in the end, it worked out great. And being a readiness NCO / platoon sergeant was the be all end all. That was the job for me. So it worked out. I am very, very happy with the direction my life took and where I am right now. I look back and go, man, I am so fortunate. And I really, really enjoy where I am right now in life.
So you mentioned 4 soldiers that you're friends with on Facebook that you put in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not just those guys, but tell me others that you mentored or that you may have helped along the way that you can remember.
I don't know how familiar you are with the Guard's AGR program, but most of your units have 3 full-timers. You have an E7 readiness NCO who on drill weekends and mobilizations is a platoon sergeant. You have a training NCO, which is usually a staff sergeant, and a supply NCO. My first supply NCO retired a couple years after I did as the battalion S4 NCOIC. My first training NCO is now a readiness NCO at a brigade level. I have another supply sergeant that came through my doors that is now a first sergeant, looking at sergeant major very soon. It seems like the guys that worked when we had that little 3-man team, those were the ones that were easy to mentor, but then again, you're around them every day. And all of them, I mean, every single one of them has moved on to staff positions or positions at the state headquarters. And that's a point of pride for me when I can say, I kind of joke when especially the one that's a sergeant major with the IG, I'm like, yeah, he's my fault. I hired him. So, and then there's honestly, it sounds pompous, but there's almost like countless younger soldiers. Whoops, hold on, come here. Told you he was going to bust in on us. That'd be Kalen. That's grandson. That's pride and joy right there. So go find your mom. You say hi. You say bye. All right. Sorry about that. Can you close the door?
No problem.
Can you close the door? Thank you. But yeah, I have a lot of E4s and stuff that it's kind of neat because since now it's Mr. Cranston, and they'll come up to me on drill weekends and they're like, Mr. Cranston, you probably don't remember me. And it's like, no, I remember you. And they're E4s and E5s and stuff now. So it's really, that's another fun thing where I think I mentored or shaped a lot more soldiers than I thought I did.
That's
and I didn't get, like I said, the training NCOs and the supply guys, that was kind of a given. And those guys, come in, get promoted, move up. And then, but you don't think about the M-Day guys, but yeah, I feel like I influenced a lot of careers.
So if you had to go back and live 1 year of your life again with in the Army or in any of that stuff, what would it be? Where would you go?
Not kissing up to the host, but I will tell you that squad we had, and I don't know if you remember the Katusa we had. You remember his name?
Right?
Code. Yeah. I've actually reached out to him on Facebook, but he hasn't answered back. That was probably one of the most enjoyable squads that I had in the Army. And I think it was because I think you thought or think a lot like I do, where this is our job. This is what we have to do. Let's do it to the best of our ability. And you clicked really well with Co, which helped me because I think, as I recall, I think I was coming out of the orderly room or something when they moved me into the squad leader position.
Yeah. So, that's something that I don't remember that much. I don't remember. I thought you were my boss. I wasn't sure. I knew we were roommates, but you were never in the room.
Yeah.
I definitely remember Co, but I guess it was me, you, and Co, wasn't it? You were the squad leader. I was the senior gunner, and Co was the driver.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That was a good year. And it seems like we spent a lot of time in the bush too. It seems like we spent a lot of time in the field that year. But I mean, that's the best time when you're out there doing what you're getting paid to do.
So you taught me everything I know about like Yukon stoves, and we had this other kind of stove, and we had these little tents. Because I was in 82nd, we didn't have none of that stuff.
Oh, I know y'all were like, you guys were fish out of water. All of y'all, you hung around in a group because you didn't know what to do, and it's all this big noisy steel running around. And hey, but you did bring the battery average PT score way up. So
we definitely could run down the road and make some noise and drink some beer.
Oh yeah, I know one thing. Gosh, I wish I could remember the guy's name. He was a black E5. I think he got there a few months after you did, and you guys were so happy to see each other. I mean, big hug and big clap on the back, and I'm looking at that going, we need that kind of camaraderie down here in 2ID, because really didn't have. You guys, 82nd had that stuff down pat,
Yeah.
I wish I could remember his name.
I call going from the 82nd going to Korea for a year as taking a victory lap.
Yeah.
It's like,
it wasn't punishment.
No, it really, believe it or not, the op tempo in the 82nd and the things you had to do at Korea, it was easy. It was easy to mold into it. And because you had already been doing it for so long in the 82nd, it was just, you just looked like a superstar when you came to Korea. You did. It just somehow people just looked at you different if they knew you're from the 82nd somehow. It's really weird.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
So
the jump wings,
because there were some dirt bags too. Now, I don't think there were some dirt bags now.
Most of you guys did it. It lifted our unit up. You know, it lifted 2nd Division up, and at the time, what was it, 588 lifted it up. You know, with you guys being there.
Yeah. Remember stop loss that happened when we were over there?
Oh, you were mad?
Well, I just had a little baby girl.
I know you were mad. I'm just gonna quit working, and I said, "No, you're not." And you said, "No, I'm not." So I remember that. That was a counseling session. Because remember, when I would do the monthly counselings, I preferred to do them right instead of filling out a counseling statement and saying, "Here, read this and sign it." We would sit down and talk. And I think at that time in your life, I felt like I was really helping you out, because you were throwing a bit of a temper tantrum about the stop loss thing, and it was, you know, you needed to get it off your chest. I think that's what it was. You needed to say, "Well, I'm going to do what I want to do."
Well, you know what? Look, back at that time, looking back on it, man, you guys did me a solid. Y'all sent me on 30 days leave so that I could go back home, see my kid, be around them. And then I came back, served another 2.5 months under the stop loss, and then went back. So, dude, you were freaking right on, man. You supported me in ways that, you know, dude, you're such a hero of mine. You taught me how to do it right. You did.
And that's one thing I had to remember. And it was easy with you because you were being a new dad. Was I loved it in Korea, but everybody doesn't love it in Korea. So, and then especially when they say, "Well, you know, you're supposed to go home now, but we're just going to keep you around for an indeterminate amount of time," you know, and that had to have been extremely tough on you, especially with a new baby and everything. So yeah, that was, you know, I kind of felt like I wanted to help you get through that, because it did suck. It really did.
Yeah, so that was back in a time where we would run up $300 phone bills every month and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you know, it's interesting, you know, technology at the time, and looking on it now, it's just like, wow, you know, I can't imagine a time without a cell phone.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what my son-in-law in AIT right now. I mean, he's able to call mama, FaceTime her every night and on the weekends.
Oh,
You know, he didn't see that cell phone in basic training, and because of COVID, he had an extra 6 weeks on basic training.
Oh, wow.
2 weeks of quarantine when he got there. He showed positive for COVID once, so that was 2 more weeks of quarantine, and then they did Christmas Exodus. So all of Fort Jackson, when they got back, was quarantined for 2 more weeks.
No way.
So, yeah.
No.
Oh, and then got to Fort Lee and sat for a month waiting for a class date.
That's awful.
So, yeah. So
so tell me about tactical etching. Are you doing tactical etching still?
Yeah, we do a little bit. My business partner is a medically retired vet. He had a bad year in Afghanistan. We started out, it teaches you to do market research, because we got the wrong kind of laser that doesn't really do well. It doesn't engrave on aluminum. A CO2 laser will not affect aluminum other than make it a little bit warm. So the laser engraving on the tactical stuff kind of went out the window, but we found that niche with stainless steel tumblers, Yeti type cups. And we were going gangbusters, but between his medical issues and then me picking up the full-time job with state, it's become more of a hobby. And we do a lot of one-off awards and really cool plaques for the National Guard here in Florida. It's kind of neat, because my business partner, Matt, he is, as much as he wants to be hoorah combat medic and gun guy, he's a very, very talented artist. And he's a really good designer on plaques. Matter of fact, well, we did some work for you too, some tumblers a few years back. So yeah, like I said, it's kind of more of a hobby. We just did a presentation box for a battalion commander that was moving on down the road, and actually a good friend of mine was the battalion CSM, so he came to us for that. So yeah, we still do it off and on, and like I said, it's mostly since we hit market density, the Yeti tumblers really aren't going anymore. So it's just small stuff here and there, but nothing we really push against. My business partner finally got his 100% disability, which helps immensely. So now he's able to not have to scramble to pay the bills. So,
Good.
and with me, with my paycheck from the state of Florida, along with my federal retirement, I'm at the same pay level I was when I retired. So yeah, more of, like I said, more of a hobby, I guess, now with tactical etching is what it is.
That's awesome. We need to get you my logo so you can do some Marshall in the Middle tumblers for us, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure it
Sure.
out. I need some of those. So, hey, this has been awesome. Tell me about, one of the things before we get off of here, I want you to salute and like report with your hometown, and then call your unit to attention. Like if you want to call your platoon or your squad to attention, and then also sign out, and salute and sign out. A lot of people stand up to do it. Some people stay seated. What do you think about that?
Trying to get myself centered in the picture. I think I can do it from here.
All right. Sounds good.
Really dark.
Sounds good.
Let me get rid of the reading goggles. My wife and daughter are going to come in here thinking I'm crazy. Hold on one second. Ready?
Yeah.
Platoon, attention. Sergeant First Class Cameron J. Cranston reporting from Winter Springs, Florida on Marshall in the Middle. Fallout.
Oh, I love it. Yay. That's beautiful. That's perfect. That's perfect.
That's been a bit. Man. Boy, it's been a while.
I need to make that the standard. That was good. I like that. That's perfect.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this. I was really, when you I was seeing all the retired sergeant majors and all that, and then when you hit me with the email, I was like, yes, all right, I made the list.
Oh no, I want everybody on the list. So all of this is built around, dude. The hours we spent together, you mentoring me, us, being with Co and riding around in that friggin' riverbed and breaking track, and all the crazy stuff. Remember, we were trying to keep up with them tanks at one time. We thought we were gonna break the sucker.
It sucked when we were there, but looking back now, it was a blast.
Oh yeah.
And I remember you teaching Co to do PLFs off the back of the Vulcan too.
Probably was, right? Probably.
And actually, see, I'm talking myself in the hole. I used to know all the jump commands, even though I've never once done a jump. I knew all the jump commands because of you.
That's funny. It shows how weird I am, right?
I did get the opportunity to see the 82nd Airborne Chorus perform years ago, because I remember you telling me about them.
Oh,
and it gives me chills. Those guys are amazing. So.
Oh yeah, amazing. But
I like my airborne buddies. I like them.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you very much. I salute you, my hero.
Hey, back at you.
Hey, so we're gonna take this. If you will get me pictures, or I'll go on your Facebook and try to download pictures. I'm gonna put you together a slideshow.
Okay.
And we're gonna send you a box with a coin and a thumb drive in there. And on the thumb drive is gonna be this interview and then the slideshow.
Cool.
And it's for your grandkids,
Yeah, and that's kids and it's awesome that you're putting this together, and really, and the fact that it's for us, not really for you. It's for you. This is your thing. This is your gig, but it's also. I saw later, I was going through some of the videos and stuff, and the guys talking about the coins and the shirts. That's why I was hoping I'd have a shirt to be able to wear tonight, but that's cool. So.
Oh, look, Benson's popped on. He's going to tell you why, thanks, but he'll send you a shirt if you hadn't sent it already.
He said he was going to try and get it in the mail. Yeah, after I hung up with Benson, I'm like, who did I just talk to? I have no idea who this guy is.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Hey, well, I salute you, man. Love you, buddy.
All righty. We'll talk again.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.